All righty.
Mine too.
We ready here? Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to welcome everybody to I'm going to call to order the Monday, July 14, 2025 Richland Township Board of Supervisors meeting to agenda. I'm just going to talk a little bit slower, Dave and Eric, so you can stand there. So I'm going to ask everybody to stand the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a brief prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and continue to work for the benefit of our community. I ask that you protect our first responders along with our fine men and women serving this great country as they protect us. I ask this all in the name of your Son. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right, thank you, Chris. All right, Leslie, can you take the roll call, please?
Tim Arnold.
Here.
Chris Finelli.
Here.
Kathy Doyle.
Here.
Also present, Chief Fico, Engineer Mike Schwartz, Solicitor Link Treadwell, Administrative Assistant Vicki Schuler, and Township Manager Leslie Hume.
Okay. Announcements, Link?
We just have one under executive session, that the Board of Supervisors had an executive session on July 9th of this year to discuss collective bargaining.
And Link, you want to make an announcement about Ordinance 307?
Yes, Ordinance 307 is listed on the agenda for this evening. However, we already handled it at the May meeting, so it was just an oversight. We don't need to do that this evening.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, we have no public hearings, so right now I'm going to open up the public comment. If you have public comment, I ask you step up to up here to the podium, and please make sure you write down your name and your address. And Vicki, did we check the batteries in the microphone? Thank you. Any public comment?
Hi. Is this working? My name's Andrea Clark, and this is my husband, John. We live in Richland Township, and I wrote letters to numerous members of the township and also to Chief Fico regarding a private firing range behind 210 Richland Town Pike. And I heard right away from Mr. Stats, but I haven't heard anything from any member of the township. And I was just kind of wondering, has there been any discussion with that? Is there anything happening? Do you need me to do anything? I have pictures, I have documentation, I have the ordinances that you already have on the books that would stop this.
Okay, so we had discussions about this in the staff meeting, and I believe, Link, you were looking into some ordinances.
Yeah, there are a few different options. What, Ms. Clark, what ordinances do you have with you that you would like to discuss that we have on the books already?
I have, it's Chapter 10, Health and Safety, Part 3. The basic ordinance is 10-305. And there's 3.
Is that the nuisance ordinance?
Yes.
Okay.
C is the willful making or causing to be made any loud, boisterous, or unseemly noise or disturbance so as to disturb or annoy the peaceable public near to or upon any street, lane, alley, park, square, common, or in any public building, public place, or business place, or private building or private place within the township of Richland. And then D is any act or conduct such as might tend to cause riot, panic, violence, or a general disturbance. And then E, any wanton discharge without legal right except in authorized celebrations of any gun, pistol, firearm, fireworks, or other explosive. When this all came about, this all started in 2011. We moved into our house in 2008. Mr. Hilligus bought his house in 2006.
Okay, let's hold on with names, though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I know who you're referring to, but let's hold off on names.
The
Thank you.
210 Richland Town Pike bought their house in 2006. We moved in 2008. This all started in 2011. So it wasn't there when we're not coming in and saying, oh, you can't do this. But I was told by Mr. Brittingham and by Mr. Treadwell that they were given permission to fire guns in their backyard. And I
No,
want to
that-
say I'm not anti-gun. I own several. I'm not a gun, guns are great. I support them. I support the Second Amendment. I was told by Mr. Treadwell and Mr. Brittingham that the residents of that home were given permission to fire weapons in their backyard in a residentially zoned area because it fell under Title 34 of the Pennsylvania Game Commission.
Did you and I have a conversation
Yes.
on the phone?
I don't know if we talked on the phone. I talked in person to Mr. Brittingham
Did you and I have a conversation?
via email.
Okay. So I think when we were talking about the game code, Pennsylvania's game code, right? It allows for people to shoot at targets in their backyard.
I'm sorry, but you're wrong. It allows for people to shoot only on Pennsylvania state game lands. The Pennsylvania Game Commission does not regulate target shooting in any residential area. I called the Pennsylvania Game Commission, spoke in length with them, and Title 34 of the Pennsylvania Game Commission only applies to state game lands.
Does it have a definition of hunting in it?
It does.
Okay. Does hunting include shooting at targets?
On state game lands.
No. The definition of hunting.
On state game lands.
The definition of hunting, not what the code applies to, the definition of hunting.
But they're not hunting.
Understood. But hunting includes shooting at targets.
On state game lands.
Not correct, ma'am. The definition of hunting, period.
Okay.
If you look at our nuisance ordinance, there's an exception for hunting.
Okay.
Hunting, yes.
Hunting. If you look at the definition of hunting under the state game code, it includes shooting at targets.
In a
That's,
residential,
that is the connection as to when you look at our ordinance that says there's an exception for hunting, you then have to find a definition of hunting.
They're not hunting.
The definition of hunting that's in the state game code includes shooting at replicas of animals. Okay? Okay. So that's what we talked about, what Mr. Brittingham and I talked about a couple years ago when this issue came up. It was that discussion. I did not say that the state game warden or whatever those individuals are can regulate people shooting on their own property. I completely understand that they regulate shooting on state game lands. What we pulled from the state game code was the definition of hunting.
Okay, but they're not hunting.
But if you look at the definition of hunting, and if they're shooting at replicas of animals, then they are.
No, there's no animals.
We
I
never
have
said,
pictures.
okay, all right, well, that's a whole nother issue. But we never said that they were given permission.
Okay.
Nobody ever gave them permission to shoot there. The question was, is there something in one of our ordinances that prevents it?
Yes, the one I just.
That's the question, okay? And if there's an exception under the nuisance ordinance for hunting, and hunting includes shooting at targets, then based on the information we had then, that's what we told you.
Okay. They're not hunting. You can't hunt on 1.75.
They're shooting at a target.
Correct.
What is the target?
Backstop, it's about maybe a little bit smaller than your desk here,
Okay.
right? And it's maybe 8 foot high.
Okay,
There is no earthen berm behind it,
okay, so now we're into a different issue.
okay? And the thing is that there are kids, teenagers and everything, that play in the woods. They ride their motorcycles. They walk back there. In the wintertime, it's snowmobiles.
Are they your children?
No,
Right.
they're children.
Children
Okay.
in our neighborhood.
Okay. So are you concerned about the safety of the children, or are you concerned about the noise?
Both.
Both.
Both, okay.
Try living several houses away for 6 hours with constant gunfire.
Understood,
Constant gunfire.
understood.
And they do it every Father's
day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I,
Christmas. Christmas is
Christmas
another one.
Day,
It's like
yeah.
he gets a new gun for Christmas and he wants out there for hours shooting. And we have dates, we've got times of how often they do it.
I was told that it was occasionally by Mr. Brittingham. It's not occasionally.
No,
It's all the time.
It's all the time. How late was the one time?
8:35,
8:45.
yeah.
Yeah, 8:45 at night, they're out there shooting.
May I show you these pictures?
Yeah, absolutely. Bring them up, Andrea.
I wanted to show you that there's absolutely zero safety precautions taken on anything. Here's their backstop, or I'm sorry, their target. And they should have earthen berms behind it and alongside of it to retract bullets. If it was part of the Pennsylvania Game Commission code, you'd be required to have that. This
On
is
state game land,
on game land.
right, which we've already decided this is not, correct?
Is a residentially zoned area, 1.75 acres.
Correct.
Surrounded on 3 sides by homes.
Correct.
So they have this metal target right here. And I don't know what this is, but there's targets there and they're shooting at propane tanks. And you can see there's no berms, no safety, anything behind this at all.
If they were to put up berms to make it safe, how does that solve your problem that they're shooting on Father's Day?
I'm telling you that this is on your hands. If somebody gets hurt, dead, or there's property damage, it's all your responsibility. I'm trying to guard guard public safety.
Okay.
And also bring into effect that the noise that is generated by this firing range, it's unacceptable in
Okay.
a residential area.
But let's take them one issue at a time. They don't have, according to you, the proper backstop for safety. If they did, does that solve the problem?
No, because it's not.
Okay.
There's still,
So there's more than one problem here.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
It's not just the safety, it's the noise.
Safety and the
yeah.
noise.
So are you asking the board to consider some kind of new ordinance or regulation that would lessen the problems that you're having?
I want them to be stopped. Because if you allow them to do it, anybody can do it. I can go on my deck, fire my 9. I got an AR. I can fire that.
Mm-hmm,
All my neighbors can do the same.
mm-hmm.
You already have ordinances in your documentation here that would stop it. The Pennsylvania Game Commission has nothing to do with this issue.
I never said they did.
I'm just telling you that they don't. Because that was the original, that was what I was led to believe in the very beginning in 2011 when I wrote my first letter. Mr. Brittingham told me that it was part of the Pennsylvania Game Commission, and the police have been to my house, I don't know, 5, 6 times, along with other people, and they told me, standing on my deck, oh my God, that's ridiculous. But our hands are tied because the township allows it because it's Pennsylvania Game Commission Code Title 34.
And the one time the police were called, Officer Lawhead came out because we had a spent .45 round that hit our house, and it ended up on our grill of our deck. And I didn't touch it. We heard a hit. We heard them shooting. We heard something hit the house, but birds fly into our glass all the time, and we just thought that's what it was, a bird hitting the house or something. And went out there the next day to out onto the deck, have my coffee in the morning, and there was a spent .45 round. And then we like, hey, that's from over there. And so Officer Lawhead came and got the round. So I guess it's still in evidence. I don't know.
It hit the drain rail above our patio door. There's a dent above our patio door, and it missed our glass by about that much. So it hit the house, plinked off the house, and ended up on the barbecue. I can't prove that that's where it came from.
It's just odd that they were shooting and
We heard something, and there it was. And these these metal targets that they're shooting at have no safety barriers around them anyway, so they can certainly ricochet off of a metal target that moves and is on hinges, and bullets can go for another mile.
Okay. I'm going to intervene here. So the decision, this is a very slippery slope. We got to be careful, how we handle this, that we don't want to infringe upon somebody's rights, amendment rights. However, we also have to look at the well-being of the surrounding neighbors and children that you're talking about. I think our job is now to find the balance. For us just to say, stop, I think we may have to dig a little deeper into how we're going to go about that. If we're looking to possibly look at maybe a zoning, some sort of ordinance could be a little more specific towards these situations. For example, zoning aspect of it, where the area, community you live in, your zoning's SRL. You primarily see SRL. You primarily see that in residential developments. We definitely don't want people shooting near. Look, where where I live at, so I sure wouldn't want anybody shoot. I sure wouldn't want anybody shooting. So I think unless Kathy and Chris disappear into this, and this is not something that has not gone. We've been talking about this for a while. But however, we have to go about it the right way. And I'm glad. By the way, I'm glad you came tonight. I know you struggled with coming, and I encourage you to come. However, now we have to find a balance of what we're going to do and how we're going to handle this. And unless hopefully Kathy and Chris will agree with this, I think what we need to do is just continue to look into, see what we can find out. I say imitation is the best form of flattery. Richland Township is probably not the only second-class township code that has gone through this, where you have a cluster of developments in the middle of Richland, and as you sprawl out more, it goes down to what they call the rural agriculture area of the township. So that's one of the things that we talked about doing, is having our professionals, our staff, go in and investigate what they could find out with other resources that we have as a township overall, and see what they have done. And this is not going to be immediate fix, because when we go back and if we actually have it, we go to adopt an ordinance for this, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some advertisement. So I think what I would suggest we do is have our staff continue to look into this and find out what we can learn, what we can do to best satisfy the needs and safety and well-being of people in the community. Most importantly, I don't want to see people, like I said, if you have kids back there playing in the woods, kids are going to play in the woods. We definitely don't want to see that happen.
Now, if this was a house on acreage,
Yeah.
like by itself,
Like the
but
stone
you know
bags.
the address.
Right.
There's houses on left and right of them, and then there you have us behind them. It's just unsafe, unnecessary.
So it's fortunate because, some other municipality out there has taken what I call the bleeding edge on issues like this, where they came back and they presented an ordinance, and they're the ones who got beat up by the NRA, or the people who really support the Second Amendment rights. And, we're not looking for a lawsuit here. We're looking at something that can, I would say, find a balance here.
We're not looking to take away anybody's guns.
No.
You have the right to
And-
keep
and,
their
and,
arms, just not shoot them in your backyard.
So, we have been discussing this in staff meetings, and they have been researching. Unfortunately, this is not going as quickly as we would like to it. So it's not like what you're saying tonight, or what you sent your letter. I didn't want to come back to you, nor anybody else here wanted to respond back to your letter, because we didn't have the full facts of the matter. We don't want to come back and say we're, half-cocked, where we didn't know really what was going on, what rights we had. What you said tonight makes total sense. And now we're hopefully going to go back to our staff and our professionals, say, okay, let's continue to look at it. They eventually have to come back to us, and then we have to give them the input of, yeah, do we like this or we do not like it? So you've been patient this long, and I appreciate that. All I ask you, be a little more patient for us to resolve this issue.
And we don't still want to keep on calling the police because of noise ordinance. They're busy. They got other things to do. And we just don't want to keep on saying, hey, it's been 3 hours now.
Yeah. We can't enjoy our property.
I hear him over my neighborhood too, and I know I've spoken to other people that actually also hear him. But one thing I will say is, we haven't received a lot of complaints.
Because they stopped, everybody gave up.
Yeah,
I can honestly tell you, everybody gave up because nothing was being done.
okay.
The police would show up, they couldn't do anything because their hands are tied because it's licensed game.
All right, I'm going to give Chris the opportunity if he has any comments on this.
I really have no additional comments. I hear your concerns, and I've spoken the same thing. I live in a much tighter development, but I certainly wouldn't want someone shooting practice in their backyard without the proper facility. A neighbor used to let hunters hunt on her property, and that made me nervous, because that's a rifle, and that's got much more distance. So I understand your concern, and I think Tim eloquently put it. Sometimes the wheels of justice spin a little slow, but that doesn't mean we're not still working on it.
Kathy?
So I just want to add, because this has been going on, that staff would get that information to us sooner than later. So we at least start looking at it, and, you know, when I say sooner than later, I'd like to put a time frame on them, at least to have something in our hands, whether it's 25, 30 days from now.
I've given him 60 days during the staff meeting. Yep,
60 days, explain that, if you don't mind.
2 months,
No, I know that, I know the math.
okay?
I mean,
Because I
to have something to us, something to propose to us.
Absolutely. I feel when they're going to come, they're going to bring something before us, I need to make sure it's something that we're very comfortable, and it's also, most importantly, defendable. I don't want to have them come in and bring
And
something.
that's the key. We're trying to
Well-
do it once, make sure it sticks, and then.
If I may read something regarding federal regulations on firing guns in residential areas. Federal and state laws in Pennsylvania regulate the discharge of firearms in residential areas. While Pennsylvania does not require a permit for discharging firearms on private property, other legal restrictions still apply. The Uniform Firearms Act governs most aspects of firearm ownership and usage, including licensing for concealed carry and restrictions on prohibited persons. In most residential areas, it is illegal to discharge firearms due to the potential risk of public safety. Local laws may vary, but generally shooting a gun in a residential area is prohibited except in certain circumstances, such as self-defense.
Okay. All right, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
I
appreciate your time.
appreciate your comment. I know it took a lot for you guys to
If
show
have
up.
any questions, if I can be of any assistance, I've kept quite the diary of facts, and I have pictures and all the times that they shoot. You're more than welcome to copies of them. I have no problem with that. And I really would appreciate any help you can give us, because it's not a peaceable public area.
Moving forward, what we'll do is any communication on the project, we'll make sure it comes to our township manager, so you're aware of what's going on.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Thanks for coming out. Okay, any other public comment at this time? All right. We have no zoning hearing board applications. It looks like we got a couple stormwater requests. Looks like an individual on 326 looking for a stormwater exemption. Looks like the applicant is looking to construct a 30 by 40, 1,200 square foot accessory detached pole barn and driveway. Looks like we do have a memo from Mike saying that he's okay with giving them the stormwater exemption. Does anybody have any questions about that?
No questions.
Okay,
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the stormwater exemption for Judson Her, subject to receiving the required exemption fee in the amount of $250.
No, second.
thank you. Kathy made the motion, Chris seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it looks like we have another one, an individual on 860 California Road, looking to build expand in a barn of 1,734 square feet, which will include a garage. We also have a memo from Mike saying there's no issue with this. Any questions regarding this one?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, can I have a motion?
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the stormwater exemption for Gregory Nice, subject to receiving the required exemption fee in the amount of $250.
I'll second.
Thank you. Kathy made the motion, Chris seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, then last we have is an individual who lives in Dovecote Drive, is looking to do, wow, a whole list of things. An in-ground swimming pool. We'll just stop at that. Looks like they have a lot going on.
And the
also-
associated instruments.
So it looks like we also there have a letter from Michael supporting the exemption. So somebody want to run with this one motion?
I'll make the motion to approve stormwater exemption for Stephanie Anders, subject to receiving the required exemption fee in the amount of $250.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. Chris made the motion. Kathy seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, looks like we have coming up is NVR Incorporated. Come on up. Do me a favor, just make sure that Vicky has all your name, contact information for the minutes, please.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good evening. Nate Fox from Overmeyer, here on behalf of Nehemiah Richland, which is the equitable owner with NVR Inc. Regarding the Shat Tract, and Rob Lockery, president and principal of Nehemiah Development Company. We're here, I believe that was either April or May, to talk about a proposed text amendment. Would it be helpful to just go through a summary of what we had proposed? So what we had done, we had several staff meetings, put together a draft ordinance. The proposed ordinance creates a new E31 mixed-use development within the Richland Township zoning ordinance, and there are several specific criteria for a property to even be eligible or considered for this. The major criteria are that a property has to be 50 acres minimum, 15% minimum must be PC planned commercial zoned. It must be fronted by 2 public streets with at least 300 feet along Route 309. And to be eligible to be developed in this manner, 55% of the tract must be open space, with 75% of the open space maintained as a single contiguous area. The shack tract that we're discussing is 63.5 acres, of which 43 would remain open space. In this particular,
I'm sorry, did you say 43?
43 would remain as open space. So
Okay.
it's about 19, 20 acres that's being considered for development. And this was done intentionally. The idea behind this development is to allow some of these properties like the shack tract that are adjacent, partially in the PC zoning district, and that would allow the development to be close to Route 309 and preserve a large swath of open space. And we added, with the guidance of the township staff, to make sure that at least 75% of the open space is one large tract. So it's a material component of any one of these types of developments, that there's real open space, not just pockets here. So it's something that's very usable, tangible, would be visible. We understand there's some questions about the apartments, because this to be a mixed-use development, there has to be some commercial and some residential. In this case, at the corner of Reservoir and Route 309, we're proposing a convenience store with gas. That is one of the drivers that enables us to be confident that a traffic light will be part of the development. The West End Tavern will be incorporated into this development. Rob has met with them at least 3 times. 3 times. They will be required to be a signatory to any land development plans, so they've signed off on what we've proposed, but of course, when we prepare land development plans, assuming we get zoning approval, they will have to sign off as well. We've discussed with the shopping center, the Target Shopping Center having a connection. They're amenable at this point to a minimum of a pedestrian connection, but as things progress, we're hopeful that there might be a real connectivity between the 2 developments. And that was pretty much where we left that prior to last meeting. And feel free to jump in.
Just to be clear, in terms of meeting with the owners of the West End Tavern, I think it's a little strong to say that they signed off on the plans. They've signed off on the concepts, and I mean, obviously, there's a lot of detail on ingress and egress and things like that, but I've met with them at least 3 times, going back to probably the end of last year. So they're on board with the concept. It's a stretch to say they signed off on the details of it.
Poor choice of words by me.
That was always in the details, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and this, by its nature, what's in the mixed-use zoning ordinance, this requires a lot of improvements to the Route 309 frontage. Because right now, the West End Tavern, there's no curb cuts. It's pretty much just an open access to Route 309. And we do take very seriously and understand that safety at Reservoir Road and Route 309 is a significant concern. Without a traffic light, this development doesn't happen, and we understand, we don't think this development happens without a traffic light. And that's why there's language put in this ordinance that says the developer will cooperate with the township and PennDOT to ensure that adequate traffic control measures are taken. Again, PennDOT makes the ultimate decision on a traffic light. Without doing a full traffic study, which PennDOT would not accept without a land development plan, we've taken our due diligence as far as we can with Bowman, traffic engineer, to work through the historical crash data at that intersection, looking at the yields that are out there currently, looking at the yields that are proposed. PennDOT will not definitively say, but we've gotten the highest level of certainty that we can from them that, yes, based on the data we have on the crashes, the yields, the trip counts, what you're proposing, subject to review of a traffic study, a light would be warranted as part of this development. We did bring along a rendering of what the mixed-use apartment building would look like based on Rob's project in Dublin. Do you want to take a look? Take a look at that? And
I had to find the biggest trash bag I had today because the rain covered. Like,
If you left it all the way here, we might as well look at it.
I was at my mom. I had to stop at my mom's to get it.
So, and with these apartments, these would be retained by the ownership group of the property. So the lots would be developed, NVR would build and sell the homes, and the apartments would be similar in character. Rob, do you want to walk through?
Yeah, so this is not indicative.
Rob, do
This-
me a favor, do me a favor, just go up by there, so everybody can see it, please. Can you see it, Kathy?
Yeah.
So this is a mixed-use building that we currently have at Dublin. So there are 3 floors to this. In this layout, in this building, it's actually got parking on the first floor, and then some commercial also on the first floor. But 2 stories of apartments with 15 apartments per floor. So there's 30. This is kind of the template, the model that we use. And I don't know if we'd have parking in it necessarily, but this is basically what template we would use in the style that we would look to build there. And as Nate mentioned, we hold, manage, and keep these. They're not something that we flip or develop and sell the next day.
Can I just, don't want to go out of bounds here, but can I ask what they're going for a month, rent-wise?
Yeah.
The ones in Dublin?
The 2 bedrooms are, I think, about almost $2,300. The 1 bedrooms are about $1,700 to $1,800. So
Okay.
we have 8 in this configuration. There are 8 2 bedrooms and 22 1 bedrooms.
Okay.
I think it's the 18 and 22, a little over $2,200. We're in the middle of bumps right now because leases are coming up, but that's where it is.
So it's not your typical standard apartments, a little more in the higher end?
Oh,
Say
there-
the word luxury
It's a matter
apartments.
of opinion, I think.
These are very nice apartments. I mean, I could be happy to take you through the interior of these. Not to get off on a tangent, but technically we're sort of below the market right now in Dublin because there's a I don't know if you've driven down 313, but there's a brand new apartment complex going in.
Across the street.
Yeah, right across the street from us. And they're pushing higher rents. We set the rent. I mean, there was no market. I should say there was no market, but we sort of set the market rate with the new thing that we did. These are 3 years old, so these are very nice apartments. Been leased, 100% leased. Good mix of demographics in terms of age group and things like that. But I'm happy to take you through one of them. They're well placed. I won't call them luxury, but they're good market rate apartments.
Nice fits, finishes,
Yeah.
new.
Washer, dryer in each unit. We actually put in this building, we actually put in storage units inside that are closets because we had some extra space to do that. And then people lease those, tenants lease those as well as the parking spaces that are there too.
I don't consider that high end.
Chris, you have any questions? Kathy?
I have no questions.
Okay. So Link, let's talk about what we're doing here tonight.
I think the request from the applicant tonight is for the township to consider adopting an ordinance, an amendment to the zoning ordinance, which would provide for this mixed-use type of development. They've already prepared a draft. We've reviewed it with the staff and Mike and myself and Rich and Leslie. So I think the request tonight, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but is to have the board authorize us to finalize that and take it through the MPC process, including advertising the ordinance for adoption.
So right now, we're not voting on the actual ordinance itself. We're telling you to proceed along with it.
Yeah, we have to put the ordinance in final form, send it to the Township Planning Commission, send it to the Bucks County Planning Commission, and go through the MPC's adoption process.
After that, we will then see this project again, possibly several times for land development.
You would have the next thing that would happen would be a public hearing, probably September or October meeting, depending how quick we can get it in the advertisement. So, and once that, or if that ordinance were to be adopted, then they would start preparing land development plans, which would again go to your planning commission, the Bucks County Planning Commission, and then back to you for approval before anything could happen.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Once again, Chris, any other questions before we do move on with this?
No questions.
Kathy, one last opportunity.
No, no questions.
Okay. Somebody want to move
Yeah,
on with the
I'll
motion?
make a motion to authorize the solicitor to prepare a zoning ordinance amendment and to proceed with the MPC adoption process, including advertisement.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. Chris made the motion, Kathy seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very
Great.
much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
All right. No other developers here tonight, so let's move on to township business. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve the June 9th, 2025 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
All right, Chris made the motion, Kathy seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, financial improvement, payment of bills. Leslie, I noticed that there was two separate attachments for this. Looks like you get the June bills and also the Richland Township Park and Rec Fund. Was that because of the two items on a separate Park and Rec?
They're coming out of the Park and Rec
So
Fund,
yeah,
correct. So it's a
that's-
different report.
That's a restricted fund?
Yes.
Okay, all right. For those who just follow what I'm saying is that we have restricted funds. We can only pay certain things out of certain funds. And the list of bills, there's our two items that were paid out of the recreation fund. That's why it's not included into the overall invoices approved. So with that clarification,
I'll make a motion to approve payment of the June 2025 bills.
And I'll second.
all right, thank you. Chris made the motion, Kathy seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, we talked about ordinance number 307. Let's move on to the operation and maintenance holding tank agreement. So is anybody here for this tonight? Hey, folks, how are you? You don't have to say much. You can just wave. It's so it looks like 37 Smoketown Road is for sale. Are you the potential buyer or are you the seller? You're the buyer? Okay. Okay, welcome. Looks like 37 Smoketown Road is for sale, which consists of a single-family dwelling. It's been determined that the existing septic system is unsuitable for use. Follow-up inspection by a county associates under the observation of Bucks County Department of Health. It was determined that there's no area on the property suitable for such system or any alternate system. So this has led to the need for a holding tank. The Bucks County Department of Health requires an OMN, Operation Maintenance Holding Tank Agreement with Richland Township prior to the issuance of their permit for the holding tank. It's not uncommon we come across this where an individual doesn't have access to public sewage, and this is definitely not an area where somebody can get public sewage. I think the closest public sewage to this property is on Paletown Road. And with what's going on with the sewer moratorium with Bucks County, I think it'd be rather challenged. So I think for the sake of expediting the sale of this property, I would make a motion to direct the township solicitor to prepare the operations and maintenance holding tank agreement to serve the existing single-family detached dwelling located at 37 Smoketown Road.
I'll second that.
I made the motion, Kathy seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. You'll be in contact with our township manager and our solicitor, okay? Unless you have any questions. None? Okay, great. Thank you. Have a great night. Approval of revised security camera quote. Leslie, you want to help us out?
Yes, thank you. So we did bring the security camera quote to you, I believe, at the last meeting. And since then, when they prepared that quote, in speaking with Jim Benner, our Director of Public Works, we felt that there were a couple of additional areas, locations here at the Township Complex that should have a camera on them. One being the yard waste drop-off area and some behind our Public Works buildings where there are some remote areas, that we just don't want people coming and maybe dumping mattresses or things like that. So we thought it would be a good idea. This is just adding, I believe, 3 extra cameras and then the required, because they're new locations, there is additional wiring that would be required. So that brought the quote up by $4,353.20.
I couldn't agree more that we do need something back by the yard waste dump. We've had somebody, looks like they cleaned out the ditches in their neighborhood and just dumped all the stuff back there. So our staff was left to clean up the mess. So here would be a little more eyes on the ground. That way we can get the police involved on this matter. So I think it's definitely the additional cameras is really needed for up here at the complex. So anybody have any questions about this?
Not on the fee, I'm totally fine with that, just curious, will we post a sign saying, hey, by the way, you're being watched? When we put them up?
We didn't talk about that, but if the board would like some signs posted, this
they're not,
area under surveillance or something like that. we
Material
can.
change the cost, right, just wanted to.
Oh, the sign, the sign would,
You have no right to privacy when you come up to this
right.
complex.
The sign we would do in-house.
Yes,
We wouldn't even
exactly.
go through this, yeah.
But do we have them? We don't typically have them posted, do we?
No,
I like that idea. I think that's something that,
we could do that.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Jim about it.
I mean, as opposed to having them dump and then we find out who it is and go and clean it up, maybe they'll see the sign and say, we're not even gonna bother, we'll just go
To
down the road
deter
instead.
yeah,
It's not a bad idea.
it's a good idea.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
I'm sorry, Kathy.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Anything you want to add
No,
to that?
I'm good, thank you.
All right.
I'll make the motion to approve the revised quote for security cam installation and upgrade with Excel Communications, the amount of $30,769.70.
I'll second.
Okay, Chris made the motion, Kathy seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, Township Board of Staff appointments, we have none. So let's go to Supervisor's Report. Chris?
I don't have anything.
All right, Kathy?
Okay, I have 2 things. So, first off, National Night Out is Tuesday, August 5th. We will have 2 teams, weather permitting, 2 teams out within the township, distributing ice cream within the communities. Our sponsor, again, this year is BJ's, so we can thank them for the ice cream. So we'll post more information. I think it may have been posted on our Facebook page, but I'm not sure if it's on our website, but we'll make sure it's up there. So that's Tuesday, August 5th, National Night Out. The other thing I have is, for the last several months, we have been involved in communications with the Upper Bucks Regional EMS. It's been going back and forth, and as a stakeholder, they've been keeping us in the loop and trying to engage us in what I consider their business, which we're not in. So we've been a silent observer, I guess. They are at the point now, after hours of discussion with the other municipalities that they service, and mind you, they only service a very small part in Richland Township. They are at the point where they are in discussions with St. Luke's for a merger. And they have asked us as a stakeholder, basically, do we have any issues with that concept? Again, I personally don't like to tell them how to do their business, but I don't see any impact on Richland Township if they go ahead and, with this merger. So I guess I wanted to ask the board, have you seen the communications from them? Can you foresee any issues? If not, we'll have the township manager respond.
So I've seen some of them, there's just a lot of them.
There is a lot of them. There is a
So I
lot.
haven't read every sentence of every email, but I have glanced through them. As long as they're not requesting a significant financial request from us, I'm okay conceptually with what they're proposing.
Tim?
I've been saying, since I've seen these plenty of emails, that we'll stay the course like we've been doing.
Okay. Okay, so Leslie, you'll respond, or you want me to respond to them?
I can respond. I believe an email just came in this evening before the meeting, which I sent
Oh.
out to you as well.
Okay.
And they have canceled the joint meeting, I think, which was over in the Palisades area.
I think that was the 24th they had that scheduled
Yes.
for.
So they've canceled that and have stated that St. Luke's has made an agreement. I believe they're looking at a 5-year agreement with them. So it is something, to look forward to, that they now have St. Luke's and are partnering with them. So I can respond that, conceptually, we are in agreement with how they're moving.
Okay. And we're serviced by St. Luke's, correct?
That's correct.
So it's just, yeah, okay. All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Mike?
Nothing this month, but
Don't we'll talk about that next month, all right?
For next month.
We'll wait till next month.
We got
Coming up
nice screens.
soon.
I want to see
Everyone has
pictures.
something good to look for.
Yeah, good idea.
The only thing they saved you was the pictures.
Pictures.
For those we're talking about, we're doing an MS4 stormwater management update, and we've been kicking that can down the street for a while, just because we had nothing better to talk about up here other than MS4. But now Mike has pictures, so,
Pictures.
okay, Blink,
I have nothing additional, thank you.
Chief,
I have nothing.
okay. All right, I'm gonna open up the door, open up the microphone one last time for public comment. Any other public comment? Come on up, Jeff.
My name's Jeff McGalliard. I've been, I'm going to suck up a little bit here. I've been having to go to some other municipalities to set in on some stuff for the work that we do. It's amazing to see how well this group interacts with each other and everything. Very good job. Congratulations, everybody. You do a great job.
Wow, thank you.
No, I haven't heard, don't hear that too much. Thank you very much.
Can we get that in the minutes?
Thank you, Jeff. All right, any other public comment tonight? All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All right, Chris made the motion, Kathy seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.